Welcome to this week's episode of The Second Scoop. I'm Chris Cheng, here to give you this week's big gun news. In our lead story, anti-gun group Moms Demand Action is calling for a boycott of Kroger grocery stores after they failed to ban open carry of weapons in their stores nationwide. This is really reaching and grasping for straws. Moms Demand Action is really overestimating their power and their ability to make a financial impact on Kroger stores. A few weeks ago here on The Second Scoop, we reported that the Kroger CFO went on CNBC's Squawk Box TV show to report that sales are up and that business is good following Kroger's decision to follow federal, state, and local laws and allowing open carry of firearms where it is permitted. Moms Demand Action is a group that continues to struggle and is only continuing on because of the financial backing of anti-gunner Michael Bloomberg. So even though this tactic is most likely not going to work and Kroger will continue to see its business succeed, Moms Demand Action will continue doing everything they can to prevent us from exercising our Second Amendment rights. In our second story, country music singer Tim McGraw is catching flack for headlining a concert put on by the Sandy Hook Promise coming up in July in Connecticut. Sandy Hook Promise is a nonprofit organization founded by parents of children who were murdered in the 2012 Sandy Hook shootings. While they bill themselves to be a nonpartisan gun safety group, they have shown themselves to be anti-gun. And so a lot of Tim McGraw's pro-gun supporters have been hurling a lot of flack at him. McGraw's opening act, Billy Cunningham, has pulled out of the concert, saying that he was unaware of the concert's connection to the anti-gun group. McGraw issued this statement in response to the controversy. Let me be clear regarding the concert for Sandy Hook, given much of the erroneous reporting thus far. As a gun owner, I support gun ownership. I also believe that with gun ownership comes the responsibility of education and safety, most certainly when it relates to what we value most, our children. I can't imagine anyone who disagrees with that. The fallout from McGraw continues this week. In our third story, Smith & Wesson reports that gun sales are up. The stock soared 13% last Wednesday. The stock has increased an incredible 50% since the start of 2015, and they're expecting sales between 175 and 179 million for Q2. Last year was Smith & Wesson's best sales year ever with $626 million in sales. While Smith & Wesson doesn't anticipate 2015 sales being at those levels, they do anticipate them being around 2013 levels, which was also a fantastic year for the gun industry. If you're looking to invest some money in the stock market, perhaps taking a look at Smith & Wesson is a good idea, but perhaps they're at their peak and you may have missed the boat. And now for this week's Good Guy with a Gun story, which takes us to Chicago, Illinois, where a 47-year-old Uber driver had a concealed carry permit and stopped a crazy man who was shooting in the streets of Chicago. Last Friday, a 22-year-old man was randomly shooting at pedestrians shortly after midnight. A 47-year-old Uber driver was dropping off a passenger nearby when the shooting broke out. The Uber driver exited his car and returned fire at the random assailant shooting people on the street. The Uber driver fired 6 shots, 3 of which hit the assailant in the lower body and stopped the attack. Now, what's most amazing here is that if this incident had happened over a year ago, the Uber driver would most likely be charged and in jail right now. But what has changed is that in early 2014, Illinois became the last state in the union to allow concealed carry of firearms. This incident, like every incident we cover here on The Second Scoop every week, just goes to show that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And finally, our video of the week takes us to gun documentary producer Billy Johnson, who has a tremendous YouTube following, and he is raising money on Kickstarter for his documentary, Protecting Liberty.
As most of you already know, crime is dropping. People are safer. Think for a minute. While Hollywood doesn't shy away from making films that glorify violence or films that show firearms, when was the last time you saw a Hollywood film that celebrated the Second Amendment? This is why my documentary, Protecting Liberty, is so important. Hollywood is not interested in facts or your rights. If Protecting Liberty is not funded on Kickstarter, it will not be made. Hollywood will never fund this documentary. Help make Protecting Liberty a reality. Please contribute to the Kickstarter campaign.
As of today, Billy has only raised $56,000 of the $225,000 that he is hoping to raise for Protecting Liberty. If he doesn't raise that money, then the documentary isn't going to be made at all. So if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to head over to Billy Johnson's Protecting Liberty Kickstarter page and donating some money to his campaign so he can help protect our Second Amendment rights. Well, that does it for this week's episode of The Second Scoop. I'm your host, Chris Cheng, and as always, thanks for watching.